question from Mayo Montilla. How can we feel the difference between each distortion?
Such a great question. Uh, yeah, it's a big deal. Let's see. So I have two responses for you. One that you will maybe like, and one that you won't like. I'll start with the one that you won't like first, which is that generally, I never teach by telling people what they'll feel or how to feel. This is because how you feel depends on your own personal anatomy. So it depends on the size and shape of your vocal tract and how that's interacting with the size and shape of your skull and how it's resonating and vibrating in that space. So the unhappy answers, I have no idea how anything will feel in your body. That being said, I can give you some weird, vague descriptions of each one, maybe as micro guidelines. So if you're doing a breath distortion, it will feel usually like nothing. So the question, if someone comes up to you and is like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "I'm exhaling." I'm not doing it. I don't know. I'm not doing anything. So breath distortion is the most non-feelable one. Vocal fry is a different vibration on the actual true vocal folds. So it will feel like you are doing something that is vibrating differently, more chaotic air molecules, more kind of feelings going on. It might also feel like your body is under energized if you're doing it well. It shouldn't feel like squeezing, just putting that out there. Your false vocal folds usually feel like a truck arrived and went in your own throat. Typically think of two fists just hitting each other. It's like boxing happening in here. And some people, like me, really like that feeling, and other people are terrified by that feeling, for good reason. Your arytenoids feel a little bit more fluttery. Usually they get characterized as a rattle or a rumble are the two most common kind of vague descriptors, and they'll feel a bit further back if you have a generally kind of good sense of where things are located in your body. Your aryepiglottic distortion is also going to feel like nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like you are just clean singing, and then you get, yeah! And you're like, how? Why? How is that happening? I feel nothing. But it usually feels like nothing. And very often, because of the reshaping of the instrument into a bit of a like megaphone, you get this little small space, which means the air moves at a faster speed through there. And so the air is moving normally, reaches the aryepiglottic folds, and then it shoots up quickly and shoots straight up. And then you start feeling it in your nose and your mask, and you're like, stuff's happening up here. And you're like, yeah, but anatomically it isn't. But still, you might feel it up here. And then the last one is your epiglottis. Flapping is the best word I can give you. Flappy, flappy, flappy is what it feels. And it feels quite high up. General rule of thumb, give yourself the task of doing a distortion and then pointing just somewhere on your body. Like, where do you feel it? Would you point here? Would you point here? Would you point here? Would you point here? Depending on where you point, very often different distortions. If you're pointing around here, epiglottis. So yeah, this is my weird answer.
I love it. I love it. It's so important because a lot of the, older style of teaching was based on sensations and what people felt. But in reality, the teacher was just passing on what they themselves felt. And it's really important to know that you as an individual singer are going to have a slightly different to completely different physical experience when you're singing and making these noises. Like the arytenoid epiglottis, arytenoid kind of feels like more like a chainsaw to me, right? It's like, that's just what it feels like to me. But let's lead into the next question by Delorca. Are there recommended TVF masses for each distortion type? I'm understanding
The
that
vocal
as
fold.
vocal
Yeah.
folds, thick vocal folds, how much of the vocal folds are being used. And I think to get really specific, we'd probably have to be able to ask Delorca exactly which types you are talking about, because it has a little bit more to do with the end sound that you want to produce. What
Yeah.
would you say, Aliki?
Yeah, you can do all vocal distortions on different kind of mass and thickness. And so it really, 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 really is. It's like putting on different hats. That's what different distortions are. You can have a full face of makeup going on underneath and it doesn't affect the makeup. So it's just that. And it's just that some hats are harder to put on than other hats. So yes, you can have anything and everything going on. There are tendencies. So let's say if you're trying to find your false vocal folds, going a bit thicker might be a better strategy in the beginning. If you go too thin, you're probably going to do a arytenoid by mistake. So yeah.
Right. And like I said, if you think of the sound you want to produce, if you're going for a fry scream, for example, you're going to have a different vocal fold mass than if you're going for a full on rock distortion only power rock,
Yeah.
ballad. And if you're going for more of a death metal growl sound, you're going to be using more vocal fold mass. Right, so think about the sound you want to produce, and also, as Leaky said, which is brilliant, you need to be able to make the clear note first, and that kind of gives you the very clear indication of how much adduction, vocal fold mass you're going to need for that sound.